and what I was doing and what caused this moment of me stepping away from even doing the show. And I think that I've been pretty open with the fact that I am someone who has oftentimes struggled. Not oftentimes, I struggle with depression. Now, whether or not I'm in a current state of depression is always, the work that I have to put in. But, not much unlike many of you, anxiety, things of that nature. The thing that can really oftentimes ruffle me is my own thoughts about myself in terms of how I see failure and how I approach projects. And I'm a procrastinator and all of that stuff, and a lot of that stuff comes from not my reticence to fail, but my reticence to succeed. And what that will mean in terms of, the more you succeed, the more the drive is there and the pressure is there to continue to do so and to continue to work at that feverish pace that got you the success, if not exceeding that pace that got you the success in the first place. So I had to question happiness in my life. And, one of the things that I realized coming towards the end of the year is that I wanted to challenge myself in the way that I viewed happiness. If you are someone who, and I mean, most people won't ever admit to this because, you're a 90s kind of girl. You're an independent woman, throw your hands up. You are that boy and you are that girl. So you don't get anxious. You don't compare yourself to other people because you run your own race, okay? And you doing your thing. But very much on an unconscious level, I think some of us tend to weigh our happiness on how we're viewed by others. Are people looking at us green with envy because we are out here traveling? We are doing these things. We are wearing these things. Our lives look amazing. We're in an amazing relationship. We're in the best shape of our life. Everything is going well. If you're looking at happiness from that lens, which a lot of times, to be honest with you, I did. I would weigh my happiness by how much I had going on. And the danger with that is, I had to learn that happiness wasn't, and I think that this is the confusion for many of us. Happiness is not a way of thinking. So a lot of us will use the misnomer and say, oh, I just want to be happy. And for many of us, that is all that we're chasing. Happiness is a feeling. Feelings are tied to emotions. Emotions are about experience, right? Do you follow me? So for a lot of us, sometimes happiness is based on experience, emotion. We're not even realizing that what we're actually chasing when we say that we're chasing happiness is the happiness high. We're chasing the high of being happiness. And the danger with that is oftentimes that means you have to have something happening in order to feel or experience that emotion. Right? So you got to have a new job. You got to have this. You got to be in a relationship. You got to be fat. You got to be skinny. You got to have a car. You got to have money. You got to have your own place. You got to have, 6 things in a basket. You starting 6 businesses. You got to have the most poppin' friends. All of these things have to happen in order for you to have that happiness high. And what I've learned in my time of being away from you guys is that what I really am chasing is not the happiness high. I wanted to change the way that I thought about being happy, right? So after a while, what I had to do is realize that really what I'm looking for is positivity. I'm looking for a type of energy. I'm not looking for a happiness high because it doesn't mean that I always have to have something happening. What I'm looking for is to see the positive in every situation so that regardless if something is working out for me or not working out for me, I can find the positive in it. That's the energy that I'm seeking. So this year has been a really trying year for many of us. And when things have been bad, if you've ever noticed that when things are actually not working out your way, or your experiences as of such that you feel like, you know what, I don't have what I should have going on, or whatever the case is, you've felt this, level of sadness. I'm not going to say depression, because I think that often sadness is also an emotion, which is tied to an experience, which is tied to a feeling, right? So many of you think you have depression when in actuality you may just be sad, because if your depression is linked back to experiences or lack of something happening, i.e., I don't have money to pay my bills because I made bad decisions, or I don't have that big paying job, or I have to move back in with my parents, so I'm depressed, or I broke up, me and my significant other broke up, so I'm depressed. That is a happening. That is not a way of thinking. Now, I've chosen to look at it from a standpoint of, all right, so this situation is happening, right? I can either allow it to control my happiness and say, you know what, because it's not working out the way that I want to, I am unhappy. And you can't control happiness. I hate when people tell you, oh, just be happy. Just as though, here's an understanding that you need to have. Happiness is an emotion. Emotions can oftentimes not be controlled. So please, words have meaning, folks. So you have to understand that happiness is an emotion. And when you're telling someone that they just need to be happy, I think what you're in fact saying to them is, this situation sucks, but what I need you to do is find the positive in this situation. No, you are not going to be happy that this situation happened. That sounds ridiculous. But what you can choose to do is see the situation in a way that, yes, there are bad things happening, but I can extract a positive out of this, so that I don't have to get into a place of I am sad, or I think I'm depressed. Does that make sense? So you feel sad when something saddens you. You feel happy when someone or something makes you happy. Now you can decide how carried away you get with emotions. You know what I mean? You can decide, oh, I'm big happy today, or I'm very sad today. You can decide that, right? You can, or not necessarily, you can decide how big that is in your being, because you can't decide whether or not those things happen. But what you can decide is how big you're going to make it in your being. So you can't control whether you have these issues in the first place. Happiness is not always an option. Happiness is not always an option, but you know what is always an option? The way that you view your situation. Positivity and thinking, and the way you think about things, that's an option. That's an option. Emotions are fleeting. Positive thinking is a choice. To focus on the possibility of good results is basically saying that's logic versus emotion. And in order for me to get to a place where I can be most productive in my life, I have to view the emotions in which oftentimes rule the type of person that I am, because I'm an emotional being. I emote largely. I'm even though I like to think of myself as a just kind of as this person who blends in, everything about me is loud. I know that the way that I present, which is not typical, tends to be, even when I'm not speaking, I know that my presence is enough that when I walk into the room, I change the molecular structure of the room. And that's not me stroking my own dick. That's me recognizing the God in me and recognizing who I am. When I come in a room, I change the molecular structure of the room by my very owning of who I am. So I don't have to have a bunch of things happening and have you guys seeing me in a particular way in order for me to get that, in order for me to grasp the fact that the way that I think is what truly affects the way that I see the world. And so I had to make a real concerted effort for the late half of this year, I figured on my last lap of the year, why not take the time to really just make the decision that I was going to make positivity a practice. Happiness is not a choice, and we said that, and thinking so can actually oftentimes only lead to failure, because a lot of times when people think that they can't find happiness in particular situations, that makes them a failure. If I can't, motivate myself to go and do this thing today, or if I can't have this thing, or if I don't look this way, then what I've actually built is a recipe for disaster for myself. The best way to stop chasing the high of emotion is to change the thought process. Seek out the good in your life, no matter where or what situation you find yourself in, right? Remember, we can't choose how we feel, but we can choose how we think about those feelings. I love you guys for listening, and I know that this was short and sweet, but don't worry, your girl is coming back with all new episodes. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for rocking with me for 2018. Thank you guys for just being you. Shout out to you for being fly, if no one has told you lately, bitch, you are the apple of God's eye, okay? Okay. You are fly. You are cute. You are doing your thug fizzle. And I see you, girl. I see you, boy. Okay? Thank you guys so much for listening. Peace!
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.